Welcome to Knit Your Stress Away, the podcast for moms who want to knit instead of scroll. I'm Nadine, and I help overwhelmed moms swap doom scrolling for knitting so you can finally have 20 minutes of peace that don't involve a screen. Whether you're brand new to knitting or getting back into it after years away, this show will teach you how to use knitting as a tool to calm your nervous system, set boundaries with your phone, and reclaim time for yourself without the guilt. No fancy techniques, no complicated patterns, just some practical tips, real talk about stress and motherhood, and simple ways to make knitting a part of your everyday life. So put down the phone, grab your needles, and let's knit the stress away, one stitch at a time. Hello, and welcome back to Knit Your Stress Away. This is Nadine, and welcome back to the podcast. If you tuned in last week with the first episode after my 6-month break, you have found out why knitting is, well, you didn't find out why knitting, that's what we're talking about today, but you did find out that I am going to focus this podcast now on knitting to calm your nervous system and to use it as a true antidote to your stress. And today I want to get a little nerdy and I want to explain why that works. So I went ahead and did a little research. I found some really cool sources that support the amazingness of knitting. And I'm just super excited to talk about this today. Here's the thing. Knitting isn't just this thing that you do with your hands. There's actual neuroscience happening in your brain when you knit that will make you feel calmer. So it's not just this like, oh, wow, this feels great. It's science. It's so cool. So let's talk about the science in a very simple way, because that's how I need to talk about science, because I'm not a scientist. I did research and then I'm passing it on to you, but I'm not that nerdy into science, but I find this really super cool. So I hope you enjoy it as well. So first, really quickly, let's talk about the nervous system. Again, this is something that I had to learn myself, but turns out your nervous system has two modes. One is called the sympathetic mode. The other one is called the parasympathetic mode. So let's talk about the first one, sympathetic mode. This is your fight or flight response. We've all heard about that one. It's when we, either fight or run away. It's the mode that kicks in when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, when you are in danger, in actual danger. But of course, in today's times, we're not necessarily in danger when we're stressed, but we still have that same stress response. And it's really, really bad for our body. It shows up as, your heart racing, your breathing getting shallow, cortisol, which is the stress hormone, spiking, and it is also referred to as the survival mode. So it happens it happens too often to us these days, and it's proven that it happens more than it needs to happen. In other words, little things set this off as well in our lives. Everything feels stressful. And this fight or flight response is actually happening to us on a more regular basis, and to some people even chronically, which is having really negative impact on our body systems. So we want to kind of work against that. We want to get back into the other mode, which is the parasympathetic mode. This is your rest and digest response. This is where your body heals, your body processes emotions, and it actually relaxes. Your heart rate slows down, your breathing deepens, you feel calm. A lot of people achieve this with meditation, but I know that a lot of people tried that and decided, hey, that doesn't work for me. So we got to find other ways, right? But the deal is that most of us spend way too much time in the sympathetic mode. If you want that or not, right? That's irrelevant. It happens, right? Between work stress, parenting stress, chaos, kids, the news, social media, we are constantly in this low-level fight or flight. And here's the problem. Scrolling your phone, which is what a lot of us do when we're stressed, right? In that moment, you're just like, oh, grab the phone really quickly. But scrolling your phone doesn't switch you into parasympathetic mode. It actually keeps you in the sympathetic mode, in the stress response, in the fight or flight. Every notification, every scroll, every comparison on social media, your brain reads it as a micro stressor, as a threat. right? So even though you're thinking that you're relaxing on your phone because you actually like, let's say you're laying in bed or you're laying on the couch and you're feeling like, oh yeah, this is relaxing, your nervous system is completely activated and not in a good way. This is why you can scroll for an hour and still feel wired, but still tired at the same time. Like you're just kind of like, oh, and why is this happening? And I literally notice this when I scroll too much, when I consume too many news at once. Like when I sit there for like a half an hour and I'm just like reading story after story after story and reel after reel after reel, even though some of them are funny and they do put me in a good mood, but you just don't have that much control over what is shown to you on your social media. So there's a lot of stuff in between that is like triggering, right? Triggering that nervous system response. And I'm like, why am I feeling so stressed? Like, why am I feeling so disconnected and so upset and down or sad? I don't know if you guys notice that, but make sure that you kind of maybe look out for those like signs where you're like, why is that? Can you trace it back to your phone and to scrolling too much? Is there a connection there too? Because I'm pretty sure you can find that connection. But here's the thing. Knitting actually flips the switch, and that's so exciting. So what's happening to your brain when you knit? The repetitive motion, so this is number one, the repetitive motion calms your nervous system. Research actually shows that repetitive rhythmic movements like knitting, there's other ones, activate your parasympathetic nervous system, and the steady, predictable motion signals to your brain that you're safe, there's no threat, and you can actually relax. So very cool. This is the same reason why, for example, rocking a baby calms them down, or why walking helps you think clearly. Unless you're scrolling your phone, obviously, while you're walking, which is not recommended anyway. But essentially, rhythm equals safety. And I find that so cool because especially when you have like what I call mindless knitting project going, where you just do a garter stitch or you are, it's like the pattern is super duper repetitive. You do not have to necessarily look at the pattern or count stitches and things like that. It's that rhythm that kind of gets you, it's almost like a lull. You're like going and you're making that same motion and do that for 20 minutes. It is so amazingly relaxing. There was actually a study published in the British Journal of Occupational Therapy, and I'm linking resources in the show notes, by the way, so you can look at them if you're interested. And this study found that 81% of knitters with depression reported feeling happier after knitting. And over half actually said that knitting made them feel very happy. That's so awesome. Like, I just love reading that. So it's not just anecdotal, right? It's not just like, oh yeah, this feels great. No, there's measurable change in brain chemistry. It's beyond cool, right? Okay, number 2, knitting gives your mind something to focus on, but not too much. And it's also not something, upsetting or scary or a comparison to someone else who looks like their life is better. This is just you focus and you give your brain something good to focus on. So when you're knitting, you're engaged enough that your anxious and racing thoughts can quiet down, but you're not so focused that it's stressful, where you're just kind of like, hanging on to that and like kind of grabbing too tight. Psychologists call this a flow state, where you are present and absorbed, but you're not straining. And in this flow state, your brain actually releases dopamine and serotonin. These are the neurotransmitters that antidepressants target. So dopamine and serotonin are both like the happiness hormones. And when they get released, you just feel good. You just feel good. So I have another really cool thing here from the Harvard Medical School that I found. Dr. Herbert Benson at Harvard Medical School calls this flow state and this thing I just described the relaxation response, which is the opposite of the stress response that we talked about earlier. So knitting is one of the easiest ways to trigger that relaxation response. Super cool. Number 3, you're doing something with your hands instead of reaching for your phone. That is like so simple, but it matters. It's huge. Because when you're stressed or bored, the default for a lot of us is just to grab the phone. It's automatic. It's like filling the void, filling the blank, filling the whatever, right? Like you're standing in the, checkout line at Target or whatever. And you're just like trying to fill that time where you just like seemingly feel bored because you're just looking around, and we're no longer able to just look around and be bored for like a few minutes. It's impossible, almost. So instead of grabbing your phone, you grab your knitting, and if your hands are busy knitting, you can't scroll. Yay! And this is actually a physical interruption of that pattern. I kind of want to take it a step further. For me, it's very helpful when my phone is not in my sight. Not always possible, of course, because you also do need to be available for certain people, and I completely understand that. It's the same in my life. However, when my phone is further away, or when I quite literally take my knitting project, right, and I place it next to my phone or over, like on top of my phone, so that I will always see that first, it can really help for you to just grab that instead of the phone. And every single time you choose your knitting over scrolling, you are literally rewiring your brain. You're creating a new habit loop, meaning from stressed to knit instead of from stressed to scroll. And your brain will slowly but surely like rewire that pathway. And over time, it becomes automatic. How cool is that? And it actually makes you feel better, which is so very cool. And while all these things are like more of a mental, like a stress response that knitting is really helpful with, it also has measurable physical effects that I want to touch on really quickly in this episode. We're going to go deeper into these in future episodes, but I just find this so fascinating and so amazing for something so simple that anyone can learn, anyone can pick up. And most of us don't even realize how much good you're doing for your mind and for your body just through this hobby. It's so good. So, number one, it lowers your heart rate and blood pressure. Studies show that repetitive crafts like knitting reduce heart rate and lower blood pressure, similar to meditation, but easier for most people to actually stick with it. I don't know about you, but raise your hand if you kind of like tried meditation, but you're like, can't stay focused on it. It's a practice, and I always talk about this too. It doesn't have to be perfect. Meditation is like, it's this thing that people think doesn't work, but I think it can. However, if you're kind of like tired of trying, right? Give knitting a shot. Try this. It has similar effects. If you really feel kind of about meditation, try knitting. It actually will create something that you can wear later, which meditation definitely doesn't. Number two, it reduces cortisol. We already talked about cortisol earlier. It's your stress hormone that gets released when you are in that fight or flight response. But chronic high cortisol, also mentioned earlier, can actually lead to anxiety, weight gain, sleep problems, and inflammation. And knitting has been shown to lower these cortisol levels, which means you are literally reducing stress hormones in your body through your craft. Number three, it improves sleep, or it can improve sleep because, obviously there's a lot of things that impact sleep. Talking to you lovely perimenopausal ladies like myself, where other factors definitely play a role. But when you can do what you can, right, to help improve your sleep, you want to add it all in there. So when you knit instead of scroll before your bedtime, that's definitely a big one that we all need to try, that swap. You're not exposing your brain to blue light or stimulating content. Both of those happen at the same time. Your body can actually wind down, and the calming effect of knitting primes your nervous system for sleep. It makes so much sense, and yet here we are, scrolling at night, right? I'm not trying to shame anybody here. Trust me, because I've been there too. But I now just leave my phone somewhere else, different room, on the charger, and I leave it alone when I go to my bedroom. It's out of my sight. I'm not going to touch it. Sometimes I take it with me. For example, if my husband is on travel, right? I'd like to have my phone next to me just in case I need to reach him or he needs to reach me. I swear, as soon as it's next to me in my bedroom on the nightstand, I will grab it. Doesn't matter. It's still there. So sometimes we have to physically remove things in order to just remove the distraction, right? What number was I on? 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, which I find such an overlooked benefit of knitting, right? When you finish a project, even if it's super tiny, dishcloth or a little beanie or something, right? It triggers dopamine. Again, we mentioned that earlier. It's a happy hormone. You made something with your hands. You made it yourself. You can show it off or you can give it away. It matters, guys. And it counters this I didn't do anything today feeling that comes from endless scrolling or from, motherhood chores. Like, all I did was fold a bunch of laundry and clean the house that got dirty 5 seconds later. Like, I know. I feel you. But the knitting that you did, guess what? It lasts. It's still there tomorrow and next week. It's the thing you can look at and be proud of for a long, long time. I love it. Okay, so why am I telling you all the science? Because I really want you to understand that when you choose to knit instead of scroll, you are not just keeping yourself busy with just another thing, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh man, Nadine, I just want to knit. I understand, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't have time to add something else to my plate. But this is not what that's about. You're actively shifting your nervous system from stress mode to calm mode. And I find that so very worth your time, right? You're lowering the cortisol, you're releasing feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters, you're creating a new neural pathway that makes it easier to feel calm in the future. It's not just a hobby that you're adding to your plate because someone told you to, right? It's a tool. And the more you use it, the more effective it becomes. And the side effect is it's fun. It makes something beautiful. You get to be creative. Like, there are so many more things I can say about this, but let's save all those for future episodes, right? Because we got to come back here and talk more about knitting. I'm not saying that knitting is a replacement for therapy or medication. If you need those things, please hear me, okay? But as a daily stress management tool, it is one of the most accessible, affordable, and research-backed practices that you can do. And anyone can learn it. Trust me, if I can learn knit, and when I was learning it, I was 14 and my grandma in Germany taught me. So if I can do that, you can learn it, right? You don't need a gym membership. You don't need a meditation app subscription. You need $20 worth of yarn, some needles, and 15 minutes of your time every day. And it will make a difference. That's it. So now that you know the science, you know what's happening in your brain when you knit. I hope you loved learning all about this. I really enjoyed creating this episode for you because I got to be a little nerdy about the science that I actually care about. I'm going to go back downstairs and helping my kids with the science that I don't care that much about. So there's that. But next week, I'm going to give you some super practical tips about what to do instead of scrolling, especially at nighttime. So actual alternatives that you can implement the same day. But if you are ready to start right now, today, you can grab my free guide called Swap Scrolling for Stitching, where I'll teach you what to buy, how to start, and how to build the habit. It's a 3-day reset that also includes a bonus cheat sheet for those of you who have never touched needles before and want to learn to knit right away. You're going to learn what to buy, where to buy it, what you need, and how to get started. The link is either in the show notes if you want to click on there, or you can just go to theknittingmamas.com and you will find everything that you're looking for. If this episode was helpful to you, please, please, please take 30 seconds and leave me a review right here in your podcast player, if it's Spotify or Apple. It helps other stressed moms find the show as well, and we can share all this nerdy, awesome science with them as well. Thank you so much for listening to another episode here. I will see you next week, and have a great week. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're ready to swap your screen time for some peace, I made you a free guide called Swap Scrolling for Stitching. It'll teach you what to buy, how to start, and how to build the habit, even if you've never touched needles before. And if you already knit or crochet, this will help you build that habit into your life consistently. Link is in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you'd leave a quick review. This helps other stressed moms find the show and discover that there's a better way to unwind than scrolling Instagram at 10 p.m. Follow me on Instagram at @theknittingmamas_ for daily tips, and I'll see you next week for another episode.